Hello everyone, if you're looking for a delicious brown sugar and cinnamon pound cake, this is it. Stick around because you're not going to want to miss this recipe on Cooking with Tovia. So my good friend and pastry chef Jenni Field developed this recipe. She posted it on her Facebook page and I saw it and I told her, hey, I've got to make this pound cake. And let me tell you, this cake is absolutely delicious and is so moist. This cake is perfect to take with you to those summer gatherings. This recipe was developed by my friend and pastry chef Jenni Field. You can find the measurements throughout this video, and if you don't own a scale, you can find the full measurements at her website, and I will link that in the description box under the video. So if you want to see the full written recipe for Jenni's recipe, please check the description box and I will put the link in there that will take you to her blog, but I will put the standardized measurements in the video. So I have my all-purpose flour that I've already weighed. I'm adding to this my baking soda, baking powder, cinnamon, and if you're using unsalted butter, you will also add your salt at this point. So I'm just going to whisk these dry ingredients together and set them aside. I have my eggs here. I have 5 eggs. These are 5 large eggs, and I'm using the ties on my fork to beat everything together. In the bottom of the bowl of my stand mixer, I'm going to add my white sugar. I'm using granulated sugar, and I'm using brown sugar. I'm also going to add my butter. Now I'm going to fit my machine with the paddle attachment, and we're going to cream the butters and the sugars together. I like to cream them together for about 8 minutes, and I'll scrape the bowl down every couple of minutes. While the sugars and butter are creaming together, I'm going to pour here in my bowl my heavy cream, a double cream, and I have a balloon whisk. And I just want to beat this until the cream begins to thicken up a little bit. You want it to just be able to leave some track marks. So I'm just going to beat this by hand until it thickens up, and I'll show you how thick it is. So I just whipped out my cream. I whipped it just for a couple of minutes, and I just want to show you, if you turn your bowl to the side and you run it through and you see these little marks that it leaves behind, that's, unless you know it's pretty thickened. It's not so watery. You just want it to be slightly thick. So it's been about 4 minutes, and I'm just going to stop the machine, give it a good scrape down, and then I'm going to let this whip up again for another 4 minutes. But I'm just going to keep scraping every couple of minutes. I'm going to make sure there's no lumps of brown sugar that settles to the bottom of the bowl. Make sure there's no grains of sugar. If you see any lumps of brown sugar that's not, being incorporated, just pull them out. The recipe suggests to sift the brown sugar. I know everybody don't have a sifter on hand, but I made my brown sugar from scratch, so I don't have that problem. So I'm gonna just go ahead and let this whip together for a couple of more minutes. I'll be back. Now, one more thing I'm gonna add to this, as this is halfway whipped up, I'm gonna go ahead and add my vanilla extract. Now the recipe says because the fat has a lot of flavor, we're going to go ahead and add the vanilla with it, which will carry on throughout the entire cake. So I creamed everything together thoroughly, and now I have my eggs here that I'm beating up. We're going to slowly drizzle the eggs in a little bit at a time. It's going to take a bit, so be very patient with it. I'm just going to drizzle in a little bit and just let that beat for about 20 seconds or so, and then drizzle in a little bit more. So just repeat that drizzling process. It may take about 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Just be patient. Just drizzle in a little bit at a time. So it took me exactly 10 minutes on the nose to whip in all those eggs, because I slowly drizzled it in and I beat them for about 20 to 30 seconds each addition. So you see how smooth the dough, this batter is. It's very smooth and billowy and very shiny. This is what we want. There's no grains of sugar at all. I don't see any grains of brown sugar. It's important that you really take your time to whip this, because if you leave any clumps of brown sugar, it's going to make your cake sink, and it's not going to be beautiful at all. So I'm just scraping, giving one final scrape after adding all the eggs, and just giving it a quick mix, because I don't want to over mix it when I begin to incorporate the flour. So what I'm going to do now is the flour that we mix together with the cinnamon and everything, we're going to add half of that flour mixture. So just add half of the flour. I'm trying not to make a mess. Okay, so after adding half the flour, I'm just kind of quickly turn the machine off and on to keep everything from flying all over the place. And just until it just dissolves. Okay. As soon as I see everything begin to dissolve, I'm going to stop the machine here. I'm going to give it a quick scrape because there's some flour just along the sides here. Still go to the very bottom of your bowl, the middle. You just scrape the entire bowl really well. And the scraping is really important just to make sure everything is being incorporated properly too. So after adding half of the flour, we're going to add half of the buttermilk. As soon as it dissolves, I'm going to add half of that remaining flour, half of the remaining flour. And I'm going to just mix. I'm not sure if I don't remember off the top of my head if she added the flour in 2 additions or 3 additions, but as long as you start and end with the dry, that's the important thing. So I'm going to add the remaining buttermilk. Just mix until everything dissolves. And the reason why we start and end with the dry is just to keep your batter from getting too heavy. If it's too heavy, it will weigh down and your cake will come out hard as a stone. So now we're going to add the remaining flour. And like I said, you should see the measurements come up off and on just till it dissolves. And then as soon as I see everything begin to dissolve, I'm just going to stop the machine. Let me just give it one quick scrape before all that flour is dissolved in there. I'll scrape my paddle on the side of my spatula on the side of my paddle attachment. So I'm just give it a quick mix, and that's it. No, don't mix no further. You don't want to mix it too much. There is all-purpose flour in here, so it could possibly, you could over-mix it. But we did use buttermilk, which is an acid, which will make the crumb of the cake very tender as well. But you still don't want to over-mix it. Now, I usually use cake flour, but for today's recipe, I used all-purpose because all the components have a lot of acidity and fats, so you don't have to worry about it coming out dry, your end product. And there's lots of sugar, because sugar is another fat component. So I'm going to remove my bowl from the machine, and then I'm going to pour over that whipped cream that we sort of whipped to get it thickened. Just pour it in. Just drizzle it over the top. And I'm just going to fold everything in. Now this is very similar to her whipping cream pound cake that I did on the Sugar Sweet, which is my baking channel. That cake is really delicious. That is the best thing I've ever tasted. But it's her whipping cream Van Helen cake. You can find a link to that in the description box if you love moist pound cakes. Now if you follow all of these directions to a T, you won't have to worry about your cake coming out dry. Just follow these directions exactly, okay? So I'm just folding until I see all the cream is dissolved, and it is. Now this batter here makes a lot of cake, y'all, okay? So I'm going to just pour this cake batter. This is a 10-inch bump pan, okay? This is a bump pan, not a fluted bunt. This is just a regular bunt. And I'm going to pour the batter in just until it comes halfway up the size of the pan here. And then the rest you can bake it in a low pan. You can put them in cupcake papers. You could do it as a layer cake if you like a. So I'm going to smooth my batter down around the pan here. You don't want to tap it or beat it, just slightly smooth it around. Okay, so I got the pan halfway filled, and I'm going to fill the rest of my pans, and we'll be right back. Okay, so this is going to go in a preheated 350-degree Fahrenheit oven. I'm going to bake the bump about 45 minutes to an hour. This is a 12 by 9-inch sheet pan. I think this might take about 25 to 30 minutes. So I'm not going to open my oven up until about 30 minutes. So here's my pound cake. It took about 39 minutes for it to get done. And the one that I baked in the 12 by 9, it took 30 minutes. So this is done. It'll come back nice and spongy. So I'm going to let this cool, and then I'm going to flip this out. So here's the cake. I have a glaze that I made. I colored it yellow. If you want to see the recipe for the glaze, please check the description box. I made it sort of thick. It's starting to kind of firm up on me, but that's okay. I want it to be really thick. I'm just going to cover this whole thing with this glaze and kind of spread it over. I just shook some sprinkles on top to garnish the cake. I'm just going to cut a nice size slice so you can see the inside. It's very moist. I can definitely tell you guys that for sure. I'll show you guys the inside of this cake here. It's very moist and beautiful crumb. Okay, so here's the final of the cake. Guys, please don't forget to check the description box and visit Jenni's website. And she has a YouTube channel as well. I'll put the link there. So guys, this cake looks absolutely beautiful. The crumb is moist. You see it's perfect. There's no raw bits because we took our time to thoroughly cream everything together. You can see all those specks of cinnamon. It smells amazing. The crumb is beautiful. You can tell it's moist. See what the moistness. Let's give it a taste. Oh my God. Okay. So I took like 3 bites. Number 4 now. It's delicious. It's so moist. The flavor is like eating a snickerdoodle cookie. And she's right. It's like it reminds me of the cinnamon flavored Pop-Tarts too, like she said on her site. Guys, it's really amazing. Very moist. This is delicious. You can carry this with you to picnics, cookouts. This is perfect transportable summer dessert. Okay guys, there you have it. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the thumbs up, and leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to live and be well. Let's come together and love each other.